Hey artists, today we're going to make these awesome abstract coral reef collages. Follow along with me and I'll show you all the steps to create your own. The first step is adding some bright colors to our black paper. So I'm going to dip into one of my bright colors and I'm just thinking about things kind of growing under the water and what I think that might look like. So just some different bright colors. And I'm going to make sure to leave some of that black background. Gives it kind of a dramatic look to see the bright colors against the black background. So I might do some yellow. I didn't rinse my brush quite very well, but now I kind of like the way these look mixed together. Washing my brush nice and clean, getting my next color. I'm just adding some different shapes and colors. And then I'm going to set this off to dry and work on some of the other pieces. So just getting some good colors in here. And I might add a little green. And I'm satisfied. So I've got color kind of just blowing up through my picture, leaving a little bit of that original black color behind. I'm going to set this on the drying rack and then we can start working on some of the other things to put in our abstract coral reef. Okay, next we're going to grab some different scraps from the scrap box and we're going to be using a Sharpie marker and we're going to be creating some different under the sea things that we might find in our coral reef. So we might find a shell. So I'm going to kind of make that shell shape with that scalloped edge. And just using the marker, I'm going to design that. So I'll set that to the side. I'll add that little shell. You might see some of those little creatures that, I don't know if they're sea anemones or what they would be called, but some of those little underwater coral friends that kind of have this look. So I'm just using my marker to make these designs. And then we can cut these out and add these to that beautiful background that you created. So I'm just going to keep adding some different little underwater things. I'm thinking maybe like a little starfish. Maybe I'll add a little texture. So just create some other little underwater things on your scrap paper that we can cut out and glue to our background. All right, you can see that now I've made some shells and we've got some little fish and some different undersea creatures, some sand dollars. We're going to take our scissors and cut out each piece to put onto our collage. All right, now that we have all of these cut out, we can start adding them to our background. Now, temper dries pretty fast, but if it's still a little wet, that's okay. We're just gonna use our wet glue and help it stick down. I'm just going to remember a skinny line, not a lot. We don't want this to be all bubbling out and spilling glue everywhere. And I'm just going to start placing some of these around. But we are going to add some other designs with a Sharpie marker after this dries. So what I'm going to do is leave a little space here for some of those designs. And I'm just going to put my paper creatures kind of around the page. And this collage is already starting to look really cool. I put my little anemone up there, or my sea urchin, maybe that's what that is. I've got a little shell down here. And I'm already thinking this is a pretty cool piece of art. I like it. So we're just gonna add these guys here. My little starfish. And then once you get all this glued on, we're gonna let this dry. Well, actually, I take that back. Once you get all this glued on, we can add a little more texture. And then we're gonna let this dry so we can work on it for our second day. I'm gonna put this guy here. Okay, so I've got everything glued down. I'm gonna grab a Q-tip. Now I've only got 2 sides here, so I'm only gonna choose 2 colors, but I can add a little texture in here. With that, so I can make little dots. I could just have some little swirlies kind of in here. I like the little dots. Just adding some fun texture, just because it's a collage and it's kind of wild and we want some layers to show what's happening under the sea. But it's also not realistic, it's a little more abstract. So we can just be kind of wild with it. And then I can flip this over and choose a different color. I might go for, maybe a little red. Ugh, red or light blue, I can't make up my mind. We'll do red. I like how when I push hard enough, it leaves a little circle in the center. I could almost make this look like another piece of coral if I keep them together. Pretty cool. So once you've gone and you glued your little creatures down and you've added some extra paint texture as time allows, now we're gonna go put this on the drying rack and then we can finish this masterpiece after that. Now that this is dry, we can start applying some designs right onto the painted area. And so we could have some little grasses coming out here. You can use Sharpie. I'm also going to have out some paint pens. So we could just start adding some different sea life right over our paint with our paint pens, our markers, and we're just going to be adding more to this collage. you can see I've just been adding more and more with the black paint pen and the other paint pens. You could even take the marker or the paint pen and add some designs on top of your colored paper. If you have some extra space and you want to start adding some more construction paper under the seat items, we could do that. So we're just kind of filling our space with all different designs. And if you take the silver or a white, you could even add some little underwater bubbles by just making the circle shape and then just adding the little shine. And so this collage is becoming so full with all of our different sea life, all of our different details, from our paint base to our collaged on construction paper and then drawing directly onto the page with our markers. We're getting a really interesting composition that looks like a full of life coral sea reef. This coral reef is looking very cool. I'm going to add a few more bubbles. And then I might go back in and add a couple more little plant details. And when you're satisfied, then your coral reef is complete. And I cannot wait to see the coral reef that you create.